In January of 2019, this was the most valuable startup in the United States. $47 billion for a company whose actual business was renting out office space. Its founder did not call it an office company. He said its mission was to elevate the world's consciousness. And investors did not just believe him. They handed him billions of dollars to prove it. Then, in the autumn of that same year, the company published one document, the kind every business files before it sells shares to the public. And in 6 weeks, the most valuable startup in America almost ceased to exist. $47 billion in January. By the autumn, some investors valued it closer to 8. The share sale was dead. The founder was gone, and one simple question was left hanging in the air. Not is it a good company, not is the stock too high, just this. What does WeWork actually do? The answer, stripped of all the slogans, was almost embarrassing. It rented desks. It signed leases on buildings that lasted 15 years, and rented out the space in deals that could end in 15 months. This is the story of how renting offices became a $47 billion dream, and why its ghost haunts every company that loses money and calls it growth. To understand the dream, you first have to understand the man who was selling it. In 2010, in New York City, 2 men founded a company. Adam Neumann, a tall, magnetic Israeli entrepreneur, and Miguel McKelvey, a designer raised in a commune in Oregon. Their idea sounded simple: rent a building, carve it into stylish shared offices, rent out the desks. Free beer on tap, bright colors, glass walls, fruit water. A place freelancers actually wanted to be. But Neumann was not selling desks. He was never really selling desks. He was selling belonging, community. The feeling that your job was not a job but a movement. And people loved it. WeWork spread from one building to dozens to hundreds across the world. New York, London, Shanghai, Tel Aviv. The same beer, the same neon, the same promise everywhere. Neumann told staff WeWork would do more than change offices. It would reinvent schools. It would help solve the world's problems. He spoke openly about living forever and about becoming the world's first trillionaire. People wrote it down and nodded, because behind the grand words sat one number that kept everyone calm: the valuation, and it only ever went up. Here is the trick at the very center of WeWork. Stay with me because everything rests on it. WeWork did almost exactly what an old, boring company called Regus had done for decades. It signed long leases on buildings, 15 years on average, and sublet the space in short contracts, some as brief as a month. That business already has a name. It is real estate, more precisely rent-arbitrage. Buy long, sell short, keep the difference. Regus did this for years, and the market valued Regus like exactly what it was: a property company. WeWork wanted to be valued like something else entirely, like a technology company. Why does one word matter so much? Because of a single enormous gap. A property company that earns $1 might be worth $10 on the market. A technology company that earns the same dollar can be worth 50 or more. Same dollar, wildly different price, just because of the label you attach to it. So WeWork attached the label. In its public filings, it used the word tech 123 times. It called its desks a platform, its buildings physical social networks, its booking app the future of work. But strip away the language and a WeWork floor was just a floor, with nicer chairs and beer. The technology was a turnstile and a booking app. The product was a desk you could rent by the month. It is like calling a coffee shop a caffeine delivery technology platform, and then asking to be paid like one. For years, almost nobody in finance said it out loud. The valuation was too good, and the founder was too convincing. There was just one problem hiding underneath all that growth. WeWork lost money, staggering amounts of it. And here is the strange part. The more buildings it opened, the more it lost. Growth did not close the hole. Growth was the hole. In 2018 alone, WeWork lost $1.9 billion on revenue of about the same size. For roughly every dollar it took in, it burned another. A normal company would show a loss like that plainly. WeWork invented a brand new way to measure itself. It called the number community Adjusted EBITDA. Now a normal profit figure already set some costs aside. This went much, much further. WeWork's version stripped out not just interest and taxes, it stripped out rent, marketing, building costs, admin. In plain words, it measured its profit by ignoring most of the things it actually spent money on. By that magic number, the company looked healthy. By every real number, it was bleeding. and underneath the losses sat a deeper danger, one built into the model itself. WeWork owed 15 years of rent on its buildings. Its customers could walk away in 15 months. In good times, the desks fill up, and that gap is invisible. But in any downturn, the customers vanish, and the rent does not. The company would still owe billions on empty buildings, with nobody left to pay for the desks. It was a machine that ran beautifully, as long as the money never stopped and the good times never ended. And for years, one man made absolutely sure the money never stopped. His name was Masayoshi Son, the founder of a Japanese giant called SoftBank. Son ran the largest technology investment fund the world had ever seen, around $100 billion to spend. He was famous for making enormous bets, fast, on the founders he believed in. The story goes that Son toured WeWork for about 12 minutes, then offered Neumann billions. He reportedly told Neumann that his problem was simple. He was not being crazy enough. SoftBank poured billions into WeWork, round after round, each one at a higher price than the last. And in January of 2019, it set the number that would become legend. $47 billion. WeWork was now the most valuable startup in America. With that kind of backing, Neumann began to live like the prophet he claimed to be. The company bought a private jet, a Gulfstream, for around $60 million for his use. Staff later described tequila in the office and the smell of marijuana on company flights. He pulled hundreds of millions of dollars out of his own shares, while the company drowned in losses. And he built deals that should make your eyebrows rise, because Adam Neumann was about to become his own landlord. He owned stakes in buildings, then leased those buildings to the company he ran, paying himself with his investors' money. By the summer of 2019, WeWork wanted to do the one thing that would cash everybody out: sell shares to the public. To do that, American law forces a company to open its books, fully, in a document called an S-1. On the 14th of August, WeWork published its prospectus, and the spell began to break. Because for the first time, outsiders could read in black and white how this company actually worked. The second line did not describe a business. It said the company's mission was to elevate the world's consciousness. The word community appeared about 150 times, and so did the losses, $1.9 billion in a single year. And then came the conflicts of interest, the ones that turned investors' laughter into alarm. Neumann had trademarked the word "we," then charged his own company nearly $6 million just to use its own name. He had borrowed against his shares, bought buildings, and rented them straight back to WeWork. He held shares with 20 times the voting power of ordinary investors. He could not be outvoted by anyone. The document even spelled out that if he were gone, his own wife would help choose the next chief executive. Wall Street read all of this, and for the first time, the most admired startup in America looked less like a company and more like one man's kingdom. The question everyone had swallowed for years finally surfaced. If this is a tech company, where is the technology? And if it is a property company, why on earth is it worth $47 billion? What happened next happened fast, brutally fast. Investors finally did the maths the founder had always asked them not to do. The valuation started to fall, from $47 billion to 30, to 20, to some said under 10. The bankers trying to sell the shares could not find buyers at any price that made sense. Every day the company waited, the number sank lower. The dream was deflating in real time. And the man whose face was the entire story became the one thing standing in its way. The board and SoftBank, the very people who had funded the fantasy, now turned on its author. On the 24th of September, 2019, Adam Neumann resigned as chief executive. He gave up the voting control that had made him untouchable. The kingdom had voted out its king. Days later, the company did the unthinkable. It withdrew the share sale completely. The public offering was dead. From filing the document to pulling it, about 6 weeks had passed. 6 weeks earlier, it was the most valuable startup in the country. Now it was fighting just to survive the month. WeWork was burning cash so fast, it was reportedly only weeks away from being unable to pay its own bills. The same company, the same buildings, the same desks, only the story had changed, and the story was all it had ever really sold. To stop WeWork from collapsing, SoftBank had to seize control, and it had to pay to make Neumann disappear. The exit package offered to him was valued at up to $1.7 billion, around $970 million to buy his shares. $185 million as a consulting fee, and a $500 million line of credit. A consulting fee to advise on the very company he had just nearly destroyed. Now hold that number next to what happened to everyone else. To survive, WeWork had to cut. Thousands of employees lost their jobs. Many had been paid partly in stock, sold the same dream, told they were building something historic. That stock was now worth a fraction of what they had been promised, some of it close to nothing. The man who had steered the company into the wall floated away on a fortune. The people who actually built it carried their things out in cardboard boxes. And the $60 million jet, the symbol of the entire era, was quietly put up for sale. This is the part that should stay with you. In stories like this, the higher you sit, the softer you tend to fall. The founder kept a fortune, the believers kept the boxes, and the company that was going to elevate the world's consciousness was now simply trying to stay alive. So what was WeWork in the end? 2 years later, in 2021, it finally went public, quietly, through a side door called a SPAC. Its value this time? Around $9 billion, down from 47. And in November of 2023, WeWork filed for bankruptcy. More than $4 billion in debt, crushed by the 15-year leases it could never escape. Exactly the trap that had been there from the very beginning. The maturity mismatch, the boring real estate risk hidden for years under the word tech, finally came home. And Adam Neumann, he kept his fortune, hundreds of millions of dollars, intact. In 2022, he raised money for a brand new company, another real estate venture, backed by some of the same kind of investors. Now, remember the question we started with: what does WeWork actually do? The forensic answer was always simple. It rented out office space. That was the whole business. Everything else was a story. WeWork did not leave behind a new law the way some scandals do. It left behind something quieter, a warning. It marked the moment the world stopped believing that losing money fast was the same thing as building the future. Now, when a founder promises to change the world, investors ask the boring question first. Yes, but how exactly do you make money? Because WeWork taught a whole generation one permanent lesson. A great story can be worth billions, but sooner or later, someone always reads the fine print.